Hello students, hope you all were fine. Today we will start our new topic potential due to a system of charges, and we have to find out the electric potential due to a number of charges. Suppose we have a number of charges, that is Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 up to Qn, and we have to find out electric potential at a point P, which is at a distance of R1 from Q1 and at a distance of R2 from Q2, similarly at a distance of R3 from Q3 and at a distance of R4 from Q4, and similarly it is at a distance of Rn from the Qn, or from the nth charged particle. Let us find out the electric potential one by one due to this charge configuration. Firstly, we will write electric potential due to Q1. Due to Q1 electric potential at point P, we will write the expressions as we have studied, that electric potential due to a point charge, and it will be equals to electric potential at point P due to Q1. I am designating this by V1, and it will be equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 divided by R1. Similarly, we can write electric potential V2 due to charge particle Q2 at point P, and it will be equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q2 divided by R2. And similarly V3, the electric potential due to charge Q3 at point P will be equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q3 divided by R3. Similarly, the value for electric potential due to nth charge particle, and it will be equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Qn divided by Rn. And the net potential at point P due to these charge configuration will be equals to the sum of individual potentials at that point. So the net potential at point P will be V is equals to V1 plus V2 plus V3 up to Vn, and electric potential V will be equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is common from each term. 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is here, from here and here. We can take common 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, and we have Q1 by R1 plus Q2 divided by R2 plus Q3 divided by R3 up to Qn divided by Rn. So we can generalize this result by applying summation. V will be equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught summation I from 1 to n Qi divided by Ri. Here I represents the ith charge, Qi represents the ith charge particle, and Ri represents the charge of ith particle from the point P. Okay, so this will be the expression for the potential due to a system of charges. Our next topic is electric potential due to continuous charge distribution. Let us have we have a continuous charge distribution along a line or along a surface or along any volume, and we have to find electric potential due to these configurations. At a point P which lies at a distance of R from the our continuous charge distribution. Similarly, from there we have a similar point P, and from there we have a similar point P. We have to find the electric potential at point P due to this line charge distribution from for this surface charge distribution and volume charge distribution. And for the continuous charge distribution, the electric potential at any point P can be represented by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integration dq divided by r square. We can it is r. We can compare this result with the electric field due to continuous charge distribution, and the electric field due to continuous charge distribution is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integration of dq divided by r square. But here is the electric potential, so r square takes the place r takes the place of r square. First we will find the continuous charge due to continuous charge distribution line charge, and for the line charge distribution we will represent lambda as the linear charge density, and the linear charge density is equals to, here we will cut a small length element dl and having a charge of dq. Then the lambda linear charge density will be equals to charge per unit length dq divided by dl, and from here the value of dq will be equals to lambda dl. When we will put this value v in this expression, v will be equals to, I am writing it as VL, potential due to linear charge distribution, and it will be equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integration lambda dl divided by r square. Here lambda represents the linear charge density of the dl length element, and the integration shows that we have to integrate over the complete length of the linear charge distribution. Similarly, we can find out the value of surface charge density, and surface charge density is represented by sigma, and sigma will be equals to the surface area. Here the surface area is ds having a charge of dq, and the sigma surface charge density will be equals to charge per unit surface area dq divided by ds, which implies dq charge will be equals to sigma times ds. When we will put this value in the first equation, we have electric potential V due to surface charge distribution Vs will be equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integration, in place of dq we will write sigma ds divided by r square. This is the electric potential due to surface charge distribution. Similarly, for the volume charge distribution, if we cut a small volume dv having charge of dq and it is at a distance of r from the point P, then the surface charge the volume charge density rho can be written as the charge per unit volume dq divided by dv. Then dq will be equals to volume charge density multiplied by the volume dv. We will put again this value in first equation, and we will have the volume charge density V will be equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integration, in place of dq we will write rho dv divided by r square, divided by r only. Here also it is r square represents that it is the expression of volume electric field due to the continuous charge distribution. Here we will use the only single power of r, that means the distance. Here is the case for linear charge distribution and surface charge distribution and the volume charge distribution. And if we have a continuous charge distribution at a place, then the total potential at any point will be equals to the sum of these potentials. Means to say VL plus Vs plus Vv and the net potential V will be equals to V is equals to VL plus Vs plus VB, and it will be equals to, we can take common 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, and here we have integration lambda dl divided by r plus sigma ds divided by r plus integration of rho dv divided by r. This is the expression for the electric potential due to a continuous charge distribution, either it is from linear charge or surface charge or volume charge. Okay, so our next topic is electric potential due to uniformly charged thin spherical shell. Let's have a thin spherical shell which is uniformly charged, and this uniformly charged spherical shell is of radius capital R, and we will find the electric potential due to this uniformly charged thin spherical shell at a point P, which is outside the thin spherical shell, and it is at a distance of small r from the center O of the thin spherical shell, and the second point is at the surface. Suppose this is point S at the surface, and third one is suppose at any point Q, which is inside the surface, inside the thin spherical shell. Firstly, we will find electric potential at point P, which is outside the thin spherical shell. Okay, outside the thin spherical shell. Electric potential, I will represent it by V1. When we find the electric potential at point P, which is outside the thin spherical shell, it will represent like or act like a point source. This spherical shell act like a point source, and the electric potential due to a point charge is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q divided by r square. Here r square is the r only the term r. Here r is the distance of the point P from the center of the spherical shell. And second, we will find the electric potential at point S, which is at the surface of the thin spherical shell. When we will find at the surface of the spherical shell, at the surface of the spherical shell, r distance reduced to capital R. Here small r is equals to capital R at the surface of the thin spherical shell. So the electric potential V2 is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q divided by capital R. Here 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is a constant quantity, and the charge on the spherical shell is also constant, and the radius of the spherical shell is also a constant. So this whole term is a constant quantity. So at the surface of the thin spherical shell, electric potential is constant. Okay, electric potential at the surface of the thin spherical shell is constant. Now we will find the electric potential at point Q, or inside the spherical shell. Inside the spherical shell, as we know that inside the thin spherical shell there is no electric field. When we have a region in which there is no electric field, at that point electric potential is constant. Similarly, here at point Q, electric potential is constant, and it will be equals to the same electric potential that is lies on the surface of the thin spherical shell. So inside the spherical shell, the electric potential V3 will be equals to V2 equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q divided by capital R. Okay, it is the electric potential inside the thin spherical shell, which is equals to a constant quantity, and this constant potential is also lies on the surface of the thin spherical shell. When we will draw a graph for the electric potential, suppose y-axis represents the electric potential and x-axis represents the distance from the center of the thin spherical shell. We will find that for the for the radius of the thin spherical shell, suppose it is here, we have r and this is our potential V, and this distance is r is equals to capital R, means to say the distance is equal to the radius of the thin spherical shell. We observe that the potential at the surface and the potential inside the thin spherical shell is constant. So I am writing here a quantity which is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q divided by r, means electric potential is constant. I am writing here the constant quantity. It represents the electric potential at the surface. So this area represents the electric this area represents the distance inside the thin spherical shell. So inside the thin spherical shell, electric potential is constant and it is equals to the potential at the surface, and the same potential lies inside the thin spherical shell and same potential lies at the surface. So we draw a straight line because potential is at the center and the surface is constant. But when we move outside the surface, it is inversely proportional to r. From here we can write electric potential V is inversely proportional to small r, mean to say when we go outside the thin spherical shell and moves away from the thin spherical shell, electric potential is decreasing. When r increases, the electric potential V decreases. So for inversely proportional we have the graph like this. It is outside the shell, and this point is at the surface of the shell, and this is for the inside the shell. Inside the shell, electric potential is constant, and at the surface it is also constant, and outside the thin spherical shell, electric potential is inversely proportional to the distance. Okay students, so our next topic is relation between electric field and electric potential. This is very important topic, so keep eyes on this topic. Let us consider we have a point charge plus q, and we are bringing a test charge q naught from infinity to a point P, which lies at a distance of r from the charge plus q, and again we have a point M which lies in the electric field of this point charge plus q. When we move the charge plus q naught from M to P, its displacement is dr. As we were moving the charge from M to P, the force acting on the charge at point P will be in the opposite direction. It will act in the opposite direction because it is positive charge and the unit test charge is also positive. So positive repulsion is there, and we are moving the charge from M to P. So work done in moving the charge from M to P will be equals to dW, small amount of work done, and it will be equals to force dot product with displacement F dot dr. When we remove the dot product, we will have F dr cos of theta, and here the theta is the angle between displacement and the force. Force is acting towards PM and the displacement is along MP. So the angle between the force and displacement is 180 degree. So cos of theta, the value of theta will be equals to 180 degree, and cos 180 degree is equals to -1. So dW will be equals to minus F dr. Divide left hand side and right hand side. Dividing both sides by Q0. We have दोनों तरफ Q0 से डिवाइड कर देंगे. dW by Q0 is equals to minus F by Q0 dr, and it is work done per unit test charge. Small amount of work done per unit test charge, it will be equals to dV, and force per unit test charge is equals to electric field minus E into dr. From there the value of E will be equals to minus dV divided by dr. E is equals to minus dV by dr. This is the relation between electric field and electric potential. From here we can easily see that it is negative derivative of potential. Electric field is negative derivative of potential, and the term dV by dr is known as potential gradient. It is known as potential gradient. Here the gradient means the rate of change of a quantity with respect to length. If we were observing a quantities like electric field and we were taking the differentiation with respect to length of electric field, then it will be represented by electric field gradient. Similarly, here we have taken the potential with respect to length, so this quantity represents the potential gradient. Okay, hope you guys understand these topics. Thank you.